Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to be clearing some Shadowland stages, but we're going to be doing so with tier 1 characters, and we're going to be doing it solo. We're doing this for two reasons. We're trying to show the minimum requirements needed to clear Shadowlands, and also how it's done without, overpowered characters, without an overpowered roster if you're still building yours up. Now, these characters that I'm going to be showing you are not necessarily the best characters for you to choose should you be building up your roster from scratch, but these characters are good in their own right, and they do have some functionality specifically for Shadowlands that can make them good picks if you want to invest in specific characters. Now, for stage 1, you're going to need a combat character. It doesn't matter if they're a hero or a supervillain. In this case, I've chosen White Tiger for a couple of reasons. So the first reason why I chose White Tiger is because her third skill right there has 5 seconds of damage immunity. That's a very fantastic skill. It'll help you take less damage and survive longer against enemies. But on top of that, she does have something that makes her very, very useful for Shadowlands, and that is she has 2 stuns. There on her 5th skill, when the White Tiger comes out, she has a stun, and there at the end of her 2nd skill, she has another stun. So those 2 stuns together make her very good at crowd controlling. So you can see here, I'm going to stun them in a chain. So I just stunned Ant-Man and Spider-Man, and I just stunned them again. If I can line it up here, I'm going to be able to stun them again. I wasn't able to stun Spider-Man, but I did stun Ant-Man. There we go, I've stunned them both again. And using both of those skills, at times, if you can time it right, and if you have max skill cooldown, you can actually just perma-stun them, and you don't even need to use the 3rd skill to, give yourself immunity. And you get an easy tier 1 solo clear. It took a minute and a half. It may take you longer if your cards are not as good, if your stats are not as good, but as long as you have max skill cooldown and you can rotate effectively, you can get that in under 3 minutes. Now, that's using her own leadership, which provides a bleed bonus. Of course, if the character is not yet level 60, if they're not yet at 6 stars, you're going to encounter some difficulty. But none of the clears that I'm going to show you are incredibly difficult, and they're all using tier 1 characters for solo stages, so you need to at least meet those requirements. Stage 2 of Shadowlands is probably a really challenging stage for a lot of new players because it's all rumbles. Rumbles are 3 versus 3, and it kind of all happens in a big clusterfuck, so it can be really daunting. I would say personally, out of the 3 rumbles, that the speed rumble is the worst. It requires a combat character, which the first stage also required, so you might be low on that typing. And Gamora's bleed is pretty insane, and it goes through immunities, so you will be punished. The Blast Rumble is also very difficult because speed characters are low on stats, and Songbird has lots of crowd control. So I think your best bet is for a Rumble with the combat types. Now, some pretty good tier 1 Blast characters that can do this stage solo reasonably well are the likes of Wasp, someone like Crystal, someone like Ironheart, someone like Ancient One, Caecilius, or Wiccan. There obviously are others, Sharon Rogers and others, but you want to try and, match the power level of the enemies you're seeing here. We're going to try it with Caecilius. It's probably going to take a few tries, but he does have physical defense on his leadership, which synergizes against these physical damage dealing enemies, and he has physical damage immunity on his 4th skill to protect him, as well as a high burst damage 5th skill. You want to open with Caecilius' 5th skill because it's his most damaging ability, and then you want to rotate through his other skills pretty routinely. Just make sure that you cast his 1st skill before going back to his 5th, because it does have a stun, so that's going to buy you some time while you're rotating through Caecilius' other skills. Hopefully you don't get crowd controlled by the enemies, because then you'll just take additional unnecessary damage like that, and which I'm taking now. But if you can get also the summons to not show up on the other side of the map, and they can just sit there and wait for you, which is not what happened here because Caecilius accidentally engaged both of the enemies, you can have a much easier time because the enemies will not bunch up. So here I have 3 seconds left on my immunity, so I'm going to try and kill Red Hulk before he kills me. We're gonna get it this time. It took me about 5 tries with Caecilius, so this is definitely not you know, a one and done kind of thing the way that White Tiger was. White Tiger is a much more consistent clear, and stage 1 is much easier than stage 2. Don't feel bad if you need to use characters like Ancient One for stage 2 because it is very difficult. Again, you want to aim for stages 5, 10, or 15 to get those biometric selectors, so do what you can to get there. Stage 3, you're going to have potentially different maps, but ideally you will see this relay. This is probably the easiest relay to do because there are only 3 characters. In the other 2 relays you have 4, so that means there's more HP to take down in the time. I would recommend this stage, and hopefully you have at least one universal character built up because that's the only prerequisite for this stage. The best character to do this solo is probably going to be Ghost Rider. However, you do need to have a decent setup on him, and you do need to have his newest uniform available in order to have any chance at all. And that is because Thor is immune to lightning damage and Ghost Rider is immune to fire damage, but your Ghost Rider can deal physical damage with both his 3rd skill and his basic auto, like normal attack. So basically what you do is you kill them both with Ghost Rider, and then it's fire versus fire at the end. Some other tier 1 characters who can do this pretty handily, of course, the likes of Loki. I think Medusa can do this stage pretty consistently. Perhaps Black Bolt if you have a very good setup on him. Hyperion can probably do this stage as well, but I'm going to show you with Ghost Rider. Just keep in mind that you do need to have a pretty decent setup with ISOs and obelisk and gears in order for this to work. If you have his gears kind of low, if you have his attack stats kind of low, he's not going to do enough damage and you're going to run out of time, and that's really going to be the enemy here. Time is against you. So if you can't do this solo and you need to use a leadership in order to boost Ghost Rider's damage, even if it's just a 24% all attack leadership like what you get from Punisher, by all means do that in order to clear the stage effectively and consistently each week of Shadowland. So as you can see here, the other Ghost Rider can't do any damage to me, so I really only have to worry about, for now, Ronin and Thor. Thor's already dead, so it's just Ronin now. He got a few hits in, but I think we're going to clear this one, at least for the first 2 out of 3, pretty easily, because we can kind of focus on Ronin. He really doesn't have much to do. It's basically just one-on-one. Now we have about 2 minutes to kill Ghost Rider, so you just want to prioritize the 3rd skill, and every single time that it comes off cooldown you want to cast it. In the meantime, when it's not being cast, you can get in 2 to 3 hits of your normal skill, which is the one with the 2 big swords that you never press because you're too busy pressing other skills. Yes, it does have some use. In this case, it bores you to death with this animation, and you basically just slap Ghost Rider as Ghost Rider into submission. So you don't want to just use the normal attack. You do want to use the 3rd skill or the 2nd skill, sorry, or the 1st skill, the one with the car, as much as possible, but you do need Ghost Rider's new uniform for that to work. Stage 4 of Shadowlands again will give you some variety between relays and rumbles. Ideally you want to see this relay again because, as I stated, it is the easiest stage in the game. It only has 3 opponents, and although there is a fire lightning immunity on Ghost Rider and Thor, you can bring in a lot of capable bodies at tier 1 to solo clear this stage. Some very good options, if you do have them very well equipped at tier 1, are Black Bolt, Groot, Hyperion, Destroyer, Robbie Reyes, Medusa, and others. I'm gonna do it here with Medusa so you guys can see, but let's show you guys with Medusa because I bigged her up in the other video as well. You want to again run into the corner and then open with the 3rd skill, and then you just have a lot of CC or crowd control at your disposal, so you just want to use it. But you also want to keep the iframes up as much as possible when you're not in the immunity, because otherwise you will be very harshly punished. These guys do deal a lot of damage in this Shadowland stage, so you don't want to get hit, and the residual damage, especially from Ghost Rider's flame-based skills, is pretty brutal. When Ronin comes into play, you basically have two options. You can kind of just run away. Hey, thanks for interrupting the video. Or you can try and time his death, one of the other character's deaths, with one of Medusa's other skills, so that she'll be on iframe when the character comes into the frame. So in that situation, I tried to use Medusa's 5th skill because I knew Ghost Rider was coming up from the other side. But once you have them one-on-one, it's very, very easy because Medusa has so much crowd control, stunning, and binding on different skills, coupled with the iframes, coupled with the immunity, makes her a very easy clear for an early Shadowland stage at tier 1. Now, if you don't get that relay and you have to go with one of the other relays, then you will have to employ some different tactics with some different characters. I'll show you guys that potentially in other videos, but if you get lucky the way I'm getting lucky, you go for these universal relays, you'll have a very smooth sail, a very easy path to at least stage 5 to clear with tier 1 characters only. You by all means want to avoid these new Avengers Rumbles. They're absolute death. They have physical and energy reflect. And these villain rumbles are also very difficult because you have 5 opponents, including Carnage, which is very ugly. But if you get lucky, you get this relay, it's going to be very nice. Again, we have a lot of different options to choose from in the Universal class as long as you've built up enough of them. We're going to try this one with Hyperion, but it is going to be quite difficult for him to solo clear. But let's give it a shot. Now, unfortunately, Hyperion doesn't have enough skills to just rotate normally through from top to bottom, so you do need to use some skills and then just kite. If you don't kite, you're going to get punished and you're going to take a lot of damage. He does have a stun on one of his skills, but that's it. So you just use the skills and then run away. And of course, heal as much as you can. If you can do this successfully, there's a pretty good chance that you'll be able to get this. But you need to be especially careful of Ghost Rider because he has very high damage dot effects. Dot is a persistent damage over time that even if you're kiting, you will take hits from. And you need to just basically get it to be one-on-one. One-on-one, Hyperion is a lot better, especially against Ronin. Ronin kind of matches Hyperion speed for speed in terms of how slow he is to deliver his blows. So it's a much more fair fight. So as you can see here, I don't really have to kite anymore. I can kind of go toe-to-toe with the Annihilator, and I can stun him and interrupt him because it's just one-on-one. This is a pretty fair fight, and Ronin doesn't pose much of a threat. If you need to, you can run away. A lot of Ronin's attacks will make him rooted. So you can see you can run out of the way and then just re-engage him when you feel comfortable. And you can get that with an easy clear. I know Hyperion is not available to a lot of people because he is a paywall character, but it's just an example to show you that the Universal stage is one of the easiest to clear, and it's one that you can take advantage of and use your tier 1 characters on to get those easy solo clears early and save up more of your roster for later Shadowland stages. The better you can do and the less that you can use up in the early Shadowland stages, the more success you'll have in the future. Let me know if these ideas have been helpful for you guys. Let me know if these tips help you in Shadowlands. If you want to see more of this Shadowland content, give the video a like, share it, whatever, subscribe, all that good stuff. And of course, guys, if you like what you see and you want me to select a Universal character for this instead of a Blast or Speed character, because that doesn't make any sense, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.